In the 7th year of my marriage to Julian, a girl named Brielle began appearing in his WhatsApp chats. She was naive and exuberant, and every message came with a cute sticker. All of Julian's replies were terse, yet that was the strangest part. I feigned curiosity and asked who she was. He said she was someone he'd pulled out of a wreck while on a rescue call. Julian volunteered with the squad and practiced law by day. He told me she was pitiful, so he didn't have the heart to leave her unread. Yet Julian had never tolerated small talk. The day Brielle and I were kidnapped at the same time, he could only take one of us. Faced with the choice, he hesitated. Julian arrived with Morgan just as I was putting the finishing touches on my makeup. Tonight was the opening stop of the Weaver tour, and the entire Riverdale company was on edge. Morgan barreled into my arms like a puppy. "Mommy, you look so pretty." His grape dark eyes shimmered with adoration, and I smiled. The moment I spotted Julian, the smile collapsed. Julian pressed his lips together, stepped close, and murmured, "Don't be angry anymore, okay?" I was out of line that day. "Baby, forgive me." His apology sounded sincere, but it did nothing to dissipate the anger he'd sparked the night before. The fuse had been lit half a month earlier. Julian had been swamped, working late every night. One evening I had a rare window of free time, so I cooked dinner and carried it to his office. When I walked in, another bento already sat on his desk, and its owner was chattering away, tugging at Julian's sleeve. He looked exhausted, yet he indulged every whimsical notion she spouted. When she said something amusing, a faint smile curved his mouth. I knew her, Brielle, the victim Julian had rescued a year ago. I stared, stunned. Julian was usually stern and forbidding. That soft expression was one he reserved for the people closest to him. When had a girl like this inserted herself into his orbit? A chill shot through me. Instinct said her intentions were anything but pure. The instant Julian noticed me, panic flickered across his eyes, but he recovered quickly. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" "Bringing you dinner." My answer was clipped, my gaze sliding over the cute bento box. "Though I suppose mine is redundant?" Julian's brows drew together. "How could it be?" "I'm happy you brought it." Brielle's face flushed ugly. She bit her lip. "Quinn." The affected pose turned my stomach, yet Julian's brow clouded. "Sis, don't overthink it." "He saved me, I just wanted to show gratitude," she said. I gave a soft snort. She was too green, her flawless excuse looked pathetic to me. "Sweetie, did they teach you manners? Midnight snacks aren't the conventional way to thank a married man." "I've never bothered with false pleasantries, what I say is blunt." Brielle's eyes reddened instantly. Flustered, she looked to Julian, tears sparkling. Julian stayed silent. Brielle's face brimmed with helplessness and resentment, even a flicker of hatred toward me. Typical kid can't hold her composure. "I'm sorry, sis. I was rude." "Quinn, I didn't mean to make trouble." She scooped up her bento and bolted from the office. After she left, Julian turned and regarded me evenly. "She's young. You didn't have to come down so hard." The words were flat, almost cold, without the slightest inflection, yet they made me flinch. From that day on, Julian and I went into a deep freeze. Was the Cold War really triggered by that single sentence, barely a scolding? No. It was because he had defended another woman in front of me. The preference he once showered on me was drifting to someone else. The freeze was agony. Julian pretended to bury himself in work, stayed out all night, and dumped every household chore on me. I was lost. All I'd done was dismiss a girl with a crush, the way I always had. How had it ignited such fury? There'd been a time when he sulked because I never showed jealousy. He'd doubted my feelings. "Baby, don't be mad. The cot at the firm is cold and hard. I can't sleep. Let me come home." "Oh? Did you lose your house key?" I shot back. Julian rubbed his head against my neck, his favorite trick to coax me, and in spite of myself my heart softened. "Baby, I really screwed up. Don't stay angry." I ordered from Blue. After the show we'll go. They have the little blueberry cakes you love. His steady stream of chatter deflated my resentment in seconds. So you won't fight for her again? I asked, eyeing him sideways. Never. You're the only one who matters. I ignored the declaration and said simply, family seats are row 2. Take Morgan and go sit. A smile lit Julian's eyes. Hoisting Morgan in one arm, he brushed a quick kiss across my lips. Annoying, he smeared my lipstick. Still, my heart lifted. I love an icy house, I don't want a cold war with Julian. Weaver unfolded flawlessly, thunderous applause rolled through the theater long after the curtain fell. When I slipped out backstage, people were still dissecting scenes in excited whispers. At the stage door, Morgan stood beside Julian clutching a bouquet nearly as tall as himself. Spotting me, he wriggled free and sprinted over. Mommy, Daddy, and I picked these. Do you like them? I took the flowers and planted a loud kiss on his pale cheek. Thank you, Shane. Mommy loves them. Morgan slapped both hands over his face and burrowed into Julian's jacket. Mom, I'm a big boy now. You can't just kiss my face. Julian and I traded glances, twin sparks of laughter in our eyes. This was how we were meant to be, no single-year-old interloper allowed to rewrite us. Dinner passed in a haze of Morgan's childish babble. Halfway through his mini cake, he squeezed his eyes shut and wished, I want every day to feel this happy. I want Mommy and Daddy to love me forever. The moment should have stayed perfect, but Julian's phone shrilled an unsaved number. He hesitated, then rejected it. The caller refused to quit, 2 more rings pierced the quiet. I tilted my head. Who keeps calling? Why not answer? No one important, he said. When he explained it like that, I didn't press further. But the next second his WhatsApp pinged again, and the instant I tilted my head I caught the contact name Brielle. Julian, the power's out at my place, I'm so scared. In that split second I pictured Brielle's pitiful little face. What exactly was she feeling when she typed that line? Morgan's off-key nursery rhyme droned in my ears while I stared at Julian's face, searching that unruffled mask for the tiniest crack. Julian seemed to read the doubt in my eyes, he pulled me into his arms. Sophia, don't overthink it. I'm not going to her. I know where the line is. The only person I want to spend my life with is you. I let myself sink into his chest, his steady heartbeat thudding against my eardrums. Was that promise meant for me or for himself? Julian, was the flicker of worry I glimpsed fear that I'd be angry, or fear for Brielle? 3 after that night, Julian's, and my life slipped back into its usual rhythm. Kisses and embraces, flowers and gifts kept showing up in my days, once again we were the town's model couple everyone praised. I wanted to drown in that lovely illusion, but the ceaseless trill of Julian's phone, the string of WhatsApp alerts, reminded me Brielle had never fully exited our world. I asked Julian to delete her. He answered, her background's kind of tragic, so she's sensitive and timid. A small careless move could wound her. Right now she sees me as the man who saved her. If I suddenly delete her, she'll read too much into it. Sophia, trust me, nothing will ever happen between us. I stared at him in silence, my eyes a swirl of unreadable feelings. Julian exhaled in defeat and handed me his phone. If you don't believe me, check for yourself. There's really nothing. I glanced at the screen, then looked away. I've always believed the bedrock of marriage is mutual trust. I'd never inspected his phone before. No need. I trust you. The corners of Julian's mouth lifted, he drew me close again. Sophia, you're wonderful. I murmured, just, don't let me down, all right? I won't. I'll never let you down. Still, Brielle's messages popped up on his WhatsApp every so often. Each time I saw her cutesy, cloying texts, a nameless rage flared in me. I'd never met anyone so shameless. Julian's stance was crystal clear. Why wouldn't she stop? But I'd forgotten pity can be the first spark of love, and I'd underestimated the old saying that a girl chasing a boy only needs to lift a veil of gauze. So Julian grew busy again. The day of my second ballet performance Julian had been free, yet he told me he had to work late at the firm and merely sent a bouquet. Later I learned he'd knocked off early that afternoon. Where he'd gone, I had no idea. He had lied. When Morgan fell sick he claimed workload, leaving me to take our son to St alone. Burning with fever, the child kept calling for daddy. I phoned Julian, and he cut me off in a rush. Just before the line died I heard a woman's soft sobs. For Morgan's 5th birthday Julian had promised a retired K9 and had filed the request with Riverdale Precinct long in advance. With his status the dog should have been effortless to secure. Yet on the day he apologized to Morgan, still processing. Just wait a little longer. Morgan was crushed. The next morning I saw Brielle walking a retired police shepherd. The final straw was the lipstick stain glowing on Julian's shirt scarlet, a hammer blow to my skull. My ears rang, blood roaring in reverse. Julian had cheated. For Julian walked out of the bathroom toweling his damp hair. When he spotted the shirt in my hand, his eyelid twitched. He strode over, saw the smear of lipstick, and his 6'3" frame suddenly looked awkward. I flung the shirt in his face, voice shaking apart. Julian, what is this, some kind of provocation? He steadied my shoulders, frantic. Sophia, listen to me. Explain what? Julian, do you think I'm blind? That night of the ballet were you really working? When Morgan was sick, the girl crying on the phone was Brielle, right? That retired K9 went to her, didn't it? You swore you'd never let me down, yet everything you do chills me to the bone. A lipstick print here. What did you do? You held her, didn't you? After you held her, did you do anything else? This past month had been agony. I watched Julian sink deeper into Brielle's orbit. I gave him chance after chance. He didn't wake up, he just kept hiding the truth, and I'd nearly reached the breaking point. I just never imagined the sickening truth would be exposed this way. The violent surge of emotion starved me of air. I gulped, chest spasming as if knifed. Julian's touch now revolted me. I didn't. I pushed her away. Nothing happened between us. She's pitiful, alone, bullied by everyone. She never told me. I only found out when I saw her being harassed. I felt sorry for her. I wanted to help, nothing more, I swear. Then why lie to me? Because I was afraid you'd be furious. Sophia, you're clearly upset by Brielle. I didn't want her driving a wedge between us. Julian, listen to yourself. If you'd been open, why fear my anger? She's throwing herself at you, can't you see? Swear to me you've never felt a single stray thought for Brielle. By now every trace of panic had drained from his face, replaced with pure impatience. He kicked the bedframe irritably. Sophia, must you be so ugly? You never used to talk like this. I laughed, a bleak cracked sound. How can the guilty party be so self-righteous? Julian, remember that college debate whether emotional cheating or physical cheating is worse? You said cheating is cheating, no difference, and men who do it are scum. You promised me you'd never cheat. Look at you now. Would the Julian who was 20 still recognize the 30-year-old who's forgotten every word? His face blanched, lips trembling. Julian, you're disgusting. 5. The coarse rope sawed at my wrists until they burned. Grit from the abandoned construction site floated in the air. In 30 years of life I had never been in a place this filthy. Compared with mine, Brielle's state was worse. Apparently the kidnappers knew her. Her face had been slapped crimson and swollen, her stomach kicked half a dozen times, her body mapped with scrapes. They kept spitting bitch and worthless whore. Between the physical blows and the verbal ones, every spark of the confident girl who had confronted me was snuffed out. She looked like a trampled flower. Leave her in the mud and she would wither before dawn. But the one who picked her up should not have been Julian. He is my husband. His expression was dark as ink. After our last blow-up he had stayed at the firm for days. I never imagined our next meeting would be here. The kidnapper forced Julian to choose Brielle or me. By law and by love the answer should have been automatic. Julian went silent. The thug laughed, foul and loud, and kicked Brielle again. Sly little slut got the guy to dump his wife for you. Brielle shrieked. Blood flooded Julian's eyes. When she coughed up red, he finally spoke. Brielle. I choose Brielle. Tears or sweat I couldn't tell streamed down his face, his shirt was soaked, his skin ash gray, his handsome hands trembling. Hearing her name, Brielle managed a cracked smile. I simply stared, nails digging into my palms. I hardly ever cry, but now the tears would not stop. Julian, I am your wife. His jaw clenched so hard the muscles twitched, he couldn't meet my eyes. His voice was sand and gravel. Sophia, wait for me. Terror and grief exploded through me. I thrashed until the rope tore my skin and blood ran. I watched Julian carry Brielle away. Pain short-circuited my speech, the only sound I could force out was an animal howl. The instant his back vanished I remembered Brielle standing in my dressing room, chin high, undisguised. I had wondered where she found the nerve. Even if Julian felt something, I never believed he would leave me for her. Now I know, her feelings were returned. I was the circus clown. The kidnapper hoisted me like a dog. A waste beauty like yours married to Julian. What comes next? Death. 6 When I woke, antiseptic bit my nostrils. The instant my lashes fluttered, the whole crowd in the room surged forward. Faces mingled relief with sorrow. My first coherent thought, I'm alive. I felt nothing below my waist. What happened to my legs? No one answered, they only gazed at me, some turning away to cry. What happened to my legs? I demanded again. At last Margaret whispered, Sophie, your legs are hurt, but you'll heal. I tried to sit, my limbs offered no support. I seized her hand, eyes pleading. Really? I'll be all right? Yes, yes, darling, you will. She was lying. I have danced and studied every muscle and bone for 20 years. I know numbness when I feel it. Even if nerves regenerate, I will never return to what I was. A dancer without legs. Can she still dance? Silence lasted maybe 2 minutes, then I erupted, pummeling my dead thighs, frantic to feel anything, even agony. Amid my screams a strong hand closed over mine. Sophia, calm down, calm. Through wet lashes I saw Julian, haggard, unshaven. The man who cost me my legs dared to appear. I slapped him with everything I had. The room froze. Hit me, but don't hurt yourself. I hit him again, full swing, crimson handprints flared on his cheeks. Margaret caught my arm. Sophia, stop. That's Julian. Mom, it's my fault. I did this to her. Margaret's hand slipped away, she stared at him as if he'd turned to stone. After the second slap my strength died. I lay back, tears racing for the ceiling. Julian called the nurse, had the 4 reinserted, tucked the blanket around me, every tender routine of our marriage. Margaret kept asking what had happened between Julian and me. The interrogation grated. Julian, let's divorce. You're out of your mind, Margaret gasped. Julian dropped to his knees, eyes bloodshot. Sophia, no. I won't divorce. I was wrong. Hit me, curse me, but don't leave. I love you, without you I'm dead. You don't love me. You love Brielle. You chose her and left me to die. When I first sensed his fondness for her, I chose blindness, certain he'd never abandon me. I lost my legs. No. I never wanted you dead. I thought the police would arrive any second, that I could still save you. But the thugs had a vendetta against Brielle, she was already coughing blood. If I left her, they'd kill her on the spot. I'm a rescue volunteer, Sophia. I have to protect everyone. There was no selfish motive, I swear. His justification rang hollow. In the moment of life or death he uttered Brielle's name. I'm not noble enough to forgive a husband who saves another woman and sacrifices me, no matter the excuse. I grabbed an apple from the nightstand and hurled it at him. He could have ducked, he didn't. Get out. All your noble talk is garbage, Julian. You cheat, then you can't even own it? 7. I must be sick physically and mentally. Doctors kept filing in to examine my legs, and every single one left shaking his head. The Riverdale Company board came with flowers and pity, hinting that the lead and Weaver might be reassigned. I told them I understood and even suggested the dancer I thought could carry the role. Sophia, don't worry. Weaver is your ballet. You will always be our Weaver. When you're better, the part is yours again. I forced a smile probably uglier than a sob. The directors knew how raw I felt, a few polite phrases and they escaped. We all knew the truth, the legs wouldn't heal, I would never dance Weaver again. The ballet I had created, the one that had blazed across the country, would become someone else's signature. Nausea rolled through me. My head spun, my chest tightened, my breath came in shallow clips. Day after day I stared at the autumn light draining from the trees. A month earlier I'd been the company's star prima, blessed with a perfect family, strangers used to sigh at my charmed life. In 4 short weeks I had lost the power to dance and the husband who once adored me. I started to hate the world. But every morning my adoptive mother Margaret massaged my useless limbs, my attending doctor kept calling orthopedic legends, and little Morgan tried out knock-knock jokes he'd learned in kindergarten to make me laugh. Everyone worried, everyone cheered me on. I couldn't crumble in front of them. What finally jerked me awake was Morgan's cry. He had lugged every Little Red Book award he'd won at preschool to the hospital because mommy needs gold stars to feel better, but he tripped on the threshold. Only a few steps away, and I couldn't scoop him up. Looking into his tear-slick eyes, I thought, if I stay like this, who will lift him the next time he falls? He's the baby I carried for 10 months, how dare I turn into his burden? No. I have to heal. I began greeting the therapists, stopped watching dead leaves skid past the window. I'm 30, life is still long. Julian has scarred me, but I won't let the wound finish me. Once I cleared that hurdle, I asked to see Julian for the first time. He arrived disheveled, once fierce eyes dulled, jaw dark with stubble, a bruise flowering on his cheekbone. I knew the bruise. My father had punched him after learning about the affair and the fact that he hadn't pulled me from that warehouse first. His parents, upright and strict, told friends they had no such disgraceful son. His partnership track froze. The senior committee had already warned him promotion was off the table for years. Friends called him a self-sabotaging idiot, and my parents had taken Morgan to their place. Julian had been abandoned by everyone. 8. Julian, we need to talk. About what? His voice was gravel and rust. The divorce. His hands twitched at his sides, his eyes begged. He pressed his lips white, entire body strung tight. Julian, you know the law, spouses owe each other fidelity. You cheated and then you left me. When I woke up in that hospital bed I wanted to kill you, not because my legs were broken, but because you betrayed me. Julian, are you in love with Brielle? He opened his mouth, but I didn't wait. I still love you. 10 years of love, so now I hate you. That's exactly why I have to file. If I don't cut the rot away, the memories will spoil. A clean break is the only way to keep from drowning in what you did. My throat felt scraped raw. Julian poured water, his hand shaking so badly the glass almost slipped. When he looked up again, mist clouded his eyes, ready to spill. I keep dreaming about it, he whispered. Every day I ask myself why I stepped over the line, why I clung to Brielle like a madman. Sophia, you hate me, but no one hates me more than I do. A tear slid to the corner of his eye. The storm finally broke. People who crush a heart deserve a mouthful of needles, he said. I can't breathe. Sophia, are you really leaving me? Staring at the red rims circling his eyes, I heard my own voice crack. When you cared about Brielle most, did you ever picture a future with her? He jerked upright. No, never. So it was just novelty, thrill-seeking. I sliced the words clean. You're scum, Julian. Blood drained from his face, a muscle in his cheek jumped as he fought to stay upright. You're the at-fault party. You leave with nothing. Morgan lives with me, you get visitation. And once we're divorced, you will not be with Brielle. It takes two. She knew you were married and hunted you anyway. I don't care how tragic you think she is, you will not console her in my place. Julian's shoulders folded, he covered his face and sobbed. In my memory he had always stood like a god, shielding Morgan and me. That afternoon the marble cracked, and through the fracture I glimpsed bloody, human flesh. After he left I cried too. I was nowhere near as composed as I'd pretended. Jealousy and rage had already dissolved my organs, only the thinnest membrane of poise kept the monster from ripping out. I kept hearing his last question, would I ever forgive him? I had answered no, never. If every wound and resentment must be pardoned, then love itself loses all meaning. 9. Julian refused to sign. The divorce papers sat on his desk, deadline after deadline ignored. Whenever I called he changed the subject. He doesn't want the marriage to die. I know he still loves me, just as I still love him. But our love had already cracked beyond repair. Even if we forced the pieces back together, every future day I could no longer dance would remind me of Julian's betrayal. If we ever reached that point, it would only shame what we had once been. The 20-year-old Julian and Sophia would have hated us for it. Before I asked for the divorce, I cautiously questioned Morgan. If Mommy and Daddy have to live apart, would you want to stay with me? I thought a 5-year-old wouldn't grasp what divorce meant, but the first thing he asked was, are you and Julian getting divorced? Mommy, Little Flower's mom asked her the same thing before she split with her dad. Little Flower said they divorced because her daddy did something wrong and her mommy couldn't forgive him. Mommy, Daddy did something bad to you, so you don't want him anymore. But Shane didn't do anything, so Mommy still wants Shane, right? My eyes burned. I hugged Morgan tightly. Shane will always be Mommy's little darling. Mommy will never not want Shane. I'd been 25 when I conceived Morgan, right as my career was taking off. Everyone urged me to terminate the pregnancy. I hesitated. But when the doctor pointed to that blurry shadow on the ultrasound and told me it was my baby, I simply couldn't bring myself to do it. Thank heavens I hadn't been cruel enough to end it, otherwise I would have lost this tiny treasure. Mommy, after you and Daddy divorce, will Daddy still love me like before? He will. Even if we're apart, he's still your daddy. Then okay, Mommy. I support your divorce. I held Morgan like a lone raft in a storm-tossed sea. That night, Julian came to Saint when he leaned close, the stench of alcohol and cigarettes rolled off him. Sophia, Shane found me. He used to bound into my arms like a carefree puppy, but this time he spoke like a little adult. I hope you and Mommy get divorced. I asked him, don't you want Mommy and Daddy with you forever? He said he did, but that he wants Mommy to be happy even more. He even told me not to be selfish. How can someone so small understand so much? Confusion clouded Julian's face, a helpless pain spread across his chest so thick it shattered his usual composure. He's the wonderful child we raised together. Do you think I'm heartless for telling Morgan about the divorce? Maybe you imagined I'd stay with you because I couldn't bear to tear him apart from you. A gentle, level voice hiding a blade of ice. I did hesitate, many times, because of Morgan. I discovered your involvement with Brielle long ago. If it weren't for Shane, I would have confronted you immediately. I tried to win you back, but back then you brushed off my affection like it was nothing. All your attention was on Brielle. It hurt. I'd done nothing wrong, yet I had to swallow my pride to coax you. The hospital corridors had gone dark for the night, only one dim lamp glowed in my room. Julian reached to wipe my tears, but I turned away. His hand froze mid-air. With every ounce of breeding he possessed, he kept himself from falling apart. His eyes glistened. I'm sorry. I'll bring the divorce papers tomorrow. An apology, uttered lightly, could never erase the wounds or the humiliation. The day I divorced Julian, the sky was cloudless, an unseasonably perfect autumn afternoon. Julian and I had met in college. We'd known each other 12 years, been married 7, loved for 10. Just when everyone believed our happiness would last forever, our marriage ended in the fall, all because of Brielle, who had appeared barely a year earlier. During my hospitalization, Brielle came to see me 3 times. First, arrogant and triumphant, certain she'd won, then my father beat me because of her. Second, bedraggled but still posturing, begging me to let Julian go. I remember her exact words, "You're beautiful and your family is powerful. Why fight me for Julian? Can't you just give him to me?" I'd encountered plenty of White Lotus manipulators, but Brielle was the crudest, most shameless. I answered coldly, "Brielle, are you in waste recycling? You scramble for the trash I throw away, pathetic." The third time she showed up like a drowned rat, fired, about to be run out of Riverdale, pleading for mercy. I'm no bodhisattva, why should I let her off? 6 months after the divorce, Street told me Germany's orthopedic programs were the most advanced. If I underwent treatment there, I might walk again. The moment I heard, I took Morgan and applied for visas. Julian found out. He actually wanted to resign and accompany me to Germany. My father, or rather, heart father, beat him for it. Although we were divorced, Julian still orbited me every day, calling to ask how I was. He'd rarely picked Morgan up before, but now he did it himself, just to catch a glimpse of me. I knew he hoped for reconciliation, but once I decide something, I never look back. No matter how attentive he acted, my mind was made up. Going to Germany, I had no idea how long treatment would take. Without a valid reason, he couldn't obtain a visa and we were no longer husband and wife. He feared that by the time I returned, I would have erased him completely. I knew he still woke from nightmares, that his journal brimmed with apologies, none of it moved me. So before departure, I brutally exposed his little scheme, left him as exposed as a cornered criminal, and crushed any hope I would never forgive him. Will you forget me? No. Hate outlives love, even if love fades, the hurt you gave me will remain. Just like my legs, even if I stand again, I will never dance. At that instant, Julian's expression turned colder than roadside frost, tears rimmed his reddened eyes. His voice cracked, "Then that's fine, at least you'll still remember me." I stood, walked over, bent to dry his tears, and said earnestly, "Yes, love and hatred should torment each other. Julian, work hard, build a good future for our child." Under the dim light, Julian and I said our final goodbye.